Hey everyone, this is Eddie Kalegi with Tim Moore reminding you that SportsSpeak is now powered by SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the one-stop shop for tickets to sporting events, concerts, and so much more.
Use the promo code SportsSpeak at checkout for $20 off your first purchase.
SeatGeek, let there be live. Now, on to the show. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to episode 190 of SportsSpeak, live powered by SeatGeek. Use the promo code SportsSpeak, all caps, one word, for $20 off your first purchase at checkout. I'm Eddie Kalegi.
And I'm Tim Moore.
We haven't had too many episodes, but we're back, and we've got a lot to talk about in this one today. We're going to do a little update on the SportsSpeak Fantasy Football League, talk a little NFL, because I'm feeling a little bit better about the Eagles than the last episode, because they are 5-2 now. We'll get Tim's thoughts on the Giants and talk about a couple of other teams. NBA season is also underway. Did you see Bronny James, by the way, scored his first, and I have a feeling possibly only career basket last night against Cleveland. And they kept him on the roster specifically to play the first game of the season and against the Cavs. And then the rumor is he's just going to be sent to the G League after this road trip is over. So Bronny got his moment. LeBron got his moment. Now all those theatrics are over. And again, the Lakers wasted a draft pick on him. But I digress on that for now because the Major League Baseball season is over. I'll just say quickly about the Mets. I'm very happy with as far as they got. I did not think that they had any shot against the Dodgers. The Dodgers are just too good of a baseball team. The Grimace magic was real. I thoroughly enjoyed this season again after especially the fact that we were told by ownership that the goal was not to be competitive this year, to look towards 2025. They were certainly competitive and were 2 wins away from the World Series. Big goals here. See if you can bring in Juan Soto, though I highly doubt that's happening. But bolster the rotation. I think Corbin Burns should be someone you definitely chase after. I'd also like Teoscar Hernandez, who really proved himself with the Dodgers this year and is a coveted free agent if you can't get Juan Soto. Bring back Pete Alonso, bring back Sean Manaea, and I'm going to be a pretty happy camper. But the Dodgers moved on. They played the Yankees in the World Series. The World Series, New York versus LA. It's certainly what TV wanted. Game 1 lived up to the hype. The Yankees fell behind 3-0, but then won Game 4, and were up 5-0 with Garrett Cole pitching a gem yesterday, Tim. And then the roof caved in, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, so I'll put it like this. If the tone of the Yankee season wasn't sporadically, how do I put it? It's sporadically not getting hits and lacking offense, which the Yankees did early in the series after Game 1, to then turning around, being terrible on the base paths, which, I mean, they look like little children out there at times. It's miserable. Even if John Sterling has a meltdown on it. When John Sterling has a meltdown on something, it's that bad. And really, for the Yankees, when it's all said and done, a lot of times this season, you saw guys like Gleyber Torres, Trent Grisham, and other players have inexcusable errors, lazy mistakes. And I'm not saying that's what happened yesterday in the World Series, but it just all accumulated, and it accumulated in one inning. And while it stinks because you needed Garrett Cole to practically have a legacy game, when it's all said and done, and Eddie, you'd think I'd be mad. I go all the way back to Game 1, and I'm just going to be genuine about this. Game 1 was one of the best games of baseball I've seen in my life, and I'm still not devastated that the Yankees lost, because I genuinely do believe Freddie Freeman stepped up to the plate in a moment that we all dream of as kids. Bases loaded, 2 outs, a chance to win the game for your team, and Freddie Freeman did that. I can't be devastated by that. I can be frustrated with Aaron Boone's decision, but at the same time, it was a ballsy move, and I give Aaron Boone the credit for going and doing it. Unfortunately, Nestor Cortez pitched 2 pitches, and it did not pan out, and he never pitched again. Could you have pitched Tim Hill? Maybe, but I also think Tim Hill ends up producing a ground ball that doesn't get a double play, in my opinion, against Ohtani, which means that we probably end up seeing extra innings. But with that being said, you can't hit when it matters. Yeah, Juan Soto is a great addition, but when it's all said and done for the New York Yankees, all I asked for this season, I said, prove me wrong. I wanted them to prove me wrong. Getting to the World Series proved me wrong a little bit. You can't say it didn't. But when it's all said and done, This team needs to be better. It needs a lot of things still. And the pitching staff was disastrous in the World Series. The bullpen was great, but there's a big factor moving forward for the Yankees. Rather you have Juan Soto or not, and I already said it. I wouldn't be surprised if the Dodgers, knowing how they are, they say, yeah, we spent $700 million on Ohtani. We got Yamamoto. We're going out and buying all these people. How about we bolster our left field position and go get Juan Soto? It wouldn't surprise me because there's no repercussions for these teams to go out there and do whatever. You think the Dodgers care about draft picks? Do you think they care about fines? No. And that's what the Yankees should be. And that's what they used to be. But the Dodgers, and listen, there's a lot of people hating because at the start of the year, right, we were not happy with the moves the Dodgers made. But they won the World Series. And they proved, unlike, unfortunately, what the Mets couldn't the season prior, they proved that you can buy a team to winning a World Series. And unfortunately, until cap limits are put in baseball, guess what? Any team has the capability of doing that if you have the funding. And if you're the New York Yankees, the way you answer back this offseason, you bring back Juan Soto. Still, in my opinion, the Yankees need an everyday third baseman. There is no reason the Cardinals are as bad as they are, and this team can't work up a trade to get somebody like Nolan Arenado. I'm tired of it now. I understood the first 2 seasons. Got to get somebody there. And I need the Yankees to get a closer this offseason because Clay Holmes cannot be pitching meaningful innings. I'm not bought in on Luke Weaver fully being the closer. As a temporary thing, that's great, but the Yankees need to stop bringing in these save-me pitchers and actually start getting quality relievers that can get you meaningful outs when it matters. As much as I hated how Aroldis Chapman's career ended with the New York Yankees, for example, he was the pure definition of a quality reliever when it mattered for the Yankees. You can rely on him to more often than not get a save. Even Edwin Diaz with the Mets, I know he struggled this year because of injury, but you can say you can trust Edwin Diaz to be a quality closer when the opportunity presents itself. The Yankees didn't have a consistent answer. And at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, there's a lot the Yankees need, but I'll say it like this, and I don't want it to be harsh, Eddie. I feel like the Yankees had the easiest path to a World Series maybe in baseball history. And I'm not saying they're the worst team in World Series history because I think there's a lot more worse. But in this modern era, they got exposed for being one of the most broken apart teams, I would say, in World Series history.
I'm surprised. I actually agree with a lot of your points because I thought you were going to say some crazy things here, but I want to address a couple things you said. Number one, let's circle back to the Dodgers for a second. I literally just did a presentation in a class the other day about this. Salary cap absolutely needs to be instituted in baseball because you said it. Beginning of the year, we complained on the show, like 3 separate episodes, about the fact that they were able to defer not only Ohtani's contract, but Yamamoto's too. And they proved that they could buy a championship, even in spite of a very broken, very gimmicky playoff format that baseball has. So clearly, this is a problem because teams can still buy championships, even though you have this format that promotes chaos, because that didn't really happen this year. It's happened in other years. You know how you fix that? You have a normal playoff system, but you have a salary cap, so teams can't spend that much money. I've said it before. I appreciate as a Mets fan the fact that Steve Cohen has come in after this team was bottom of the barrel in spending for years. But I can't deny the fact that there was a correlation between the Mets 2 out of the last 3 years being really good and having Steve Cohen's pockets there as well to be able to spend money to afford these players. So that said, Dodgers did have a great season. They deserve to win this championship. Freddie Freeman is a great story, and it's cool to see him win another ring. After everything that happened with Shohei Ohtani at the beginning of the year with Ippei and the gambling scandal, to see him end up winning a championship is wild. And of course, it's good for baseball to see their
Well,
star actually win a championship.
real quick because you re-brought up Freddie Freeman, but I want to say Raheel was mad at me saying, "How can I be happy for Freddie Freeman?" And this is what people don't understand. If it's not the moment you step up to, because I'm a kid that played baseball growing up and dreamed of those moments. I mean, think about what happened to Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman was screwed by his agent to practically be a Dodger. Basically said, "Oh, the Braves never offered you anything," because that agent wanted Freddie Freeman to take the most money possible. Otherwise, he still would have been an Atlanta Brave today in 2024. And if you have to think about that, he's been screwed over left and right. He played for a team that for a little bit did absolutely nothing, and then all of a sudden surged to World Series glory. Talking about him in Atlanta, and the fact of the matter is, whether you like it or not, Freddie Freeman is, I would argue, the best first baseman in all baseball. And he played hurt. And another thing, too, because a lot of people are like, oh, watch them give Shohei Ohtani World Series MVP. I would like to present this stat, too, because this is what I was studying before we went on. This World Series was the battle, of my opinion, of who is the best player in baseball. And I know a lot of people are critical, saying, hey, Aaron Judge stank this postseason. But breaking news, Aaron Judge went 4 for 18 in the World Series. Shohei Ohtani went 2 for 19.
Okay.
Like, does anybody notice that?
I agree with no. I agree with that. But Shohei Ohtani was also playing hurt, number one. Number two, I know Shohei Ohtani doesn't play the field. Aaron Judge dropped a routine fly ball, which opened the floodgates for that whole thing to happen. I seriously think Yankee fans. Okay, but
Ohtani slid into second, dislocated his shoulder, Eddie in the series. He was 1 for 12.
I don't disagree with that. But Shohei Ohtani was also producing in the first 2 rounds. Aaron Judge has been horrible in the playoffs for the last 7 years and has no clutch gene.
Right. But the thing is when you're talking about the 2 best players in baseball, who's better, and you look at this series, yeah, on paper, you'd say the Dodgers won. Shohei Ohtani's the best player in baseball. And I thought that last night until I read the stats, and you know I'm a big stats guy. Aaron Judge, in a way, outperformed Shohei Ohtani in this World Series, which kind of just makes me think, still, Aaron Judge is the best player in baseball. And I'm scared. Think about this for the Dodgers. Think about this. It's scary to think about. It's really scary to think about. But think about how good the Dodgers are this year. What happens when Shohei Ohtani starts pitching next year? Think about that.
And their rotation was depleted. But I need to circle back to your point here, because to me, it's not that Aaron Judge, it's not only that he's not the best player in this World Series, he's not the best player on his team. I know he's the best power hitter in baseball, and I'll give you that. But as an all-around baseball player, if you're going to rank all-around baseball players that played in this series overall, not just based on their performance in this series, I'd put Juan Soto and Shohei.
You can't say he's not a better defender than Juan Soto.
He's a better defender than Soto, but overall baseball player, Juan Soto sent you guys to the World Series. Juan Soto.
No. I would hold on. Juan Soto, yes, sent us to the World Series, but Giancarlo Stanton's bat played a factor in why the Yankees made.
No, it did. But you know whose bat didn't? Aaron Judge.
Right. But the other thing too. Hey, the Yankees traded for Jazz Chisholm. Jazz, where were you this whole postseason? You did nothing but talk, and you didn't perform. And Austin Wells couldn't hit a ball if it was put on a tee, but that's a different story. The Yankees tried Jose Trevino, worked out, didn't work out, whatever the case was. And I can't even be mad. Anthony Rizzo, by the way, he batted over 300 this postseason since coming back. Yeah, the Yankees had, by the way, the Yankees' first base position hasn't hit a home run since DJ LeMahieu did it in Cleveland during the summer. Think about that for a second. That's how long we've been lacking power in that spot. And I mean, Verdugo, as much as we've been critical of Alex Verdugo, he didn't play bad. He just didn't play good enough. You know what I'm saying? So when it's all said and done, and this is the reason why I compare it, I talk about average to me all the time because it's very important, Eddie. Guys like Tommy Edman, if you want to eliminate what Freddie Freeman did, and by the way, Freddie Freeman only hit at 250 this postseason when you think about it, but those homers were so big. But if you eliminated his homers and said whatever, I would argue the World Series MVP is Tommy Edman because he constantly got on base, constantly got hits, and put the Dodgers in position for success. And you mix that fact when you look around that roster, Mookie Betts batted well. Obviously, I mentioned Freddie Freeman. Will Smith didn't bat bad either. And I'm forgetting one more. It wasn't Teoscar. Somebody else had a near 300 average, and I just don't remember who it is. But either way, the point is that when it's all said and done, even though the Dodgers didn't do it in game one, the Dodgers hit as a unit this whole World Series and whole postseason, which is what the Yankees need to do. And that's the problem. It goes back to my point of what the Yankees need to fix. Well, I mean, like I said, you need a third baseman, maybe you need a first. The Yankees need a lot of things, but they need bats that can get on base if you're going to win baseball games when it matters, and that's the fact of the matter.
All right, I'll give you all that. I still hold by my point about Aaron Judge, but in the end, the Dodgers are the team that wins the World Series. The Yankees fall short once again, and the Yankees have now gone 16 years without a World Series championship. But let's go to the NFL. NBA, by the way, just started. Been some interesting topics of conversation. If
The
you
New York
missed,
Liberty, by the way, we haven't talked about that, but
yeah,
champions, New York, yay!
you
The
got
end
your
of
New York
the
champion that you've wanted for so long.
wow, yeah.
Congratulations.
I don't even know. I didn't even know when the parade was. Did the parade already happen?
Yeah, the parade happened last week. I thought you were going to be there.
I had no idea. No idea. I wish they advertised these things.
Yeah, no, they never do. But NBA did start. If you missed our predictions, they are on the socials at SportsSpeak Live, Twitter and Instagram. We'll talk more about the NBA next episode, but I want to focus on the NFL. I want to talk about the SportsSpeak Fantasy Football League for a second because there are a lot of bad teams, but we talked about last year how Tropper had a bad team, but in spite of that, found a way and ultimately ended up finishing third. It's not looking like that's going to happen this year because Adam Tropper is currently 0-8. And I
You
believe he's
please beat
in
this
you
week.
this week.
Be 1-8.
Yes.
Be 1-8 this week.
Well, you have a 56% chance to win. His team, at least he finally has a second running back that's going to actually get points because for the longest time he had Blake Corum as his second back.
Well, I'll put it like this: how my fantasy season's gone in sports speak. It's as simple as this. Everybody who has had their best fantasy week has had it against me. It's not even close in terms of points against of how many fantasy points I've allowed this league. And I'll tell you what, last week, there was a portion of the day, Eddie, where I was getting projected to beat T Glass by 30 points. And
Yes.
all the Stephon Diggs got hurt, everything happened, and everything just fell apart in front of me. And I want you to understand this, guys, that's watching at home. I started the year with the biggest bust draft pick ever, Travis Etienne in the first round, but I felt like I needed a running back. Since he's gotten hurt, almost every single player on my team that is not the quarterback position has gotten hurt. Evan Ingram got hurt. Brian Robinson missed a week. You had Stephon Diggs now out. I have Jacoby Myers in the lineup, but he's been out. I have another receiver injury too, and I'm trying to forget who. I'm forgetting who it was, but I don't even have my kicker anymore. I let Cairo Santos go for Will Lutz. The only position I've had consistency in is literally CJ Stroud, a quarterback. And by the way, he hasn't even scored much fantasy points because of the QB struggles this year. So him and T Law have been flipping in and out. So it's frustrating. I felt like I drafted foully, but it turns out I have one of the worst teams in the league. But big picture with this, Eddie, when you think about it, the sixth spot is still very much in reach, even for Adam Tropper. You just have to go on a good stretch here towards the end of the season. Unfortunately, when I look at my strength of schedule, though, that's not happening because I'm having all the best teams to end the year pretty much. So my hopes are done. I'm just hoping to live.
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of teams that are still close behind the top five because you've got Brett and Miniker at 4-4, and then we have 4-3-5 teams. I am one of those. In terms of my team, I knew it was going to be rough because the draft I got screwed in multiple rounds. I'm still stuck. I'm still stuck with Raheem Blackshear on my roster. He's been listed questionable twice. I've been like, please rule him out. Please rule him out. And they don't. So I've still been stuck with him on my team, and he doesn't play the offense. He's just their kick returner. So I
I
can't get
still have a tight end for Indianapolis, and I'm going to have him until week 14.
Yeah.
Like, you just, that's, and the playoffs start by then. So,
Yeah.
like, what am
You
I
are
going to
stuck with
do?
him. You are stuck with him. At least my tight end spot with McBride has been all right. Garrett Wilson has done enough. Chuba Hubbard has actually been my most reliable skill position player, which is insane. Baker at quarterback has really worked out, but I just have no depth. I really have no depth, and I don't know exactly what I'm going to do going forward. I am 3-5. I'm fortunate that there are some really bad teams like Tropper and Zoe. But the other team we have to talk about, Tim, is the unbeaten team. Because we knew T Glass was going to be good because he went He did so well last year and lucked into Mahomes and Kelsey in consecutive rounds, and he's got Alvin Kamara and Saquon Barkley. But Tristan, who had someone who doesn't know anything about football draft for him on this very YouTube channel 2 months ago, and Riley Ogle is 8-0, and that is with Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. Despite that, his skill position players have been unreal because he has Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, and Joe Mixon as his running backs. He's got Justin Jefferson as a receiver. He's got Calvin Ridley. He's got Jaden Reed. He's got a tight end spot with George Kittle. I mean, he has been cruising.
I mean, he's loaded. I'm pretty sure there's another bench running back he has too that's good as well. And it's just like, man, I mean, Riley, by the way, in majority of the fantasy leagues that I do with him, because this isn't the only one in which that he drafted with, he's 500 or above in all of them, and he knew nothing about fantasy really going into this year. But man was cooking with the running back spots. And yeah, I mean, Tristan from last year, remember, he was in prime position to not just win the division, that because him and I are in a division. By the way, those will flip flop next year too, because I found out I didn't know how to change it before the year. Now I know how, so that'll change up a little bit. But overall, Tristan last season, you have to remember, was in position to get the 1 seed in the playoff, pretty much, or the 2 seed technically, but a bye in the playoff, and he had a meltdown the last 3 weeks of the season and lost the division to me. And I ended up being the only person in that entire division to make the playoffs. So when it's all said and done, I'm happy to see Tristan be successful. I'm happy to see Riley's draft be successful, but I hate that it comes at the expense of myself because you mentioned teams with 1 win or whatever. I gave Zoe her first win. I gave Drew his first win. I'm probably going to give Tropper his first win this weekend. So as long as I'm not finishing last, that's all that I care about. But man, there's just the balance of teams from top to bottom. There's like 2 or 3 teams that are unstoppable, and then everybody else is just in the same playing field of dumpster fires.
So I want to talk quickly, just do a little whip around of a couple NFL teams. I want to start with the NFC East for a second, Tim. Now, the Eagles are 5-2. Since Sirianni shaved his head, they're playing better, but I again offer a cautionary tale to fellow Eagles fans just because of their record, because they were 10-1 last year and then they folded. So I would still be nervous, but they are looking better. AJ Brown and Devontae Smith are both healthy. Hopefully, Mailata gets back soon. And Jalen Hurts, most importantly, has not turned over the ball since the bye week. So 3 very solid victories. Their best game of the year last time out, where they cruised on the road against Joe Burrow and the Bengals. But I'm still concerned. The one team, though, in the NFC East, Tim, that has just been crazy are the Washington Commanders, because Jaden Daniels, the rookie, is playing at a borderline MVP level, and in the one game, he didn't look great and the offense didn't look great. He pulls off the miracle of all miracles to beat Caleb Williams. And I said this back in April. I have had some really bad takes when it's come to the draft, but I said genuinely, I believed Jaden Daniels was the best quarterback in this draft, not Caleb Williams. And right now, it's looking like the perfect fit in Washington. I still worry about the second half of the year because Cliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn are the 2 coaches who are notorious for excellent starts to the season and then poor finishes. But through the first half of the year, Jaden Daniels is looking like currently one of the 5 best quarterbacks this season in the NFL and has the Commanders in position right now. As an Eagles fan, I'll say this. I do not think the Eagles are going to beat the Commanders for the NFC East. I think Washington is going to have the leg up when it's all said and done, but there's still time to tell.
Well, there's a streak on the line, so let's put it like that. I'm hoping for the Commanders to come out there and cook. But overall, I mean, when you think about it, I mean, yeah, I agreed with you. I felt Jaden Daniels as well was the best quarterback of the people in the class. But, I mean, let's give Dan Quinn a little bit of credit. While I don't fully feel his defensive nature is exactly fully shaping that defense and it's being a dominant force, I have to say, I thought that secondary last year didn't really improve much, and they were one of the worst in the league. Yet, when it's all said and done, the Washington Commanders are winning the division. They're playing beyond expectations, and they have the quarterback that puts them in position. And just imagine too, if Jaden Daniels starts getting more targets too to that team in the future, just how much better they will be. But it is impressive to see what they're doing. That two back system too, as well, having Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler is really, really working out. And Jaden Daniels' ability to move his legs and just do stuff on the ground as well as passing without fear is very, very impressive. So I'm excited for Washington. While I want the Giants to beat them this weekend, I don't really know how I feel about the Giants at this point in the season. I just feel like it's a miserable year. We have our answer, and you're
They
just trying to
do, but they do have the
answer.
same record though as the other team in town. So I think I don't think any Giant fan expected that. I think they're more surprised that the Jets are 2-6 than that they are two
Well,
and six. But
yeah, but like I didn't want this to circle back to the Giants, but like this is my thing: is that you had to respect the contract that was given to Daniel Jones, and the Giants realistically could not afford Saquon Barkley if it was an extensive deal, which is what Philly gave him. And you have to honor Daniel Jones, whether you liked him or not last season. You couldn't evaluate it with how bad that offensive line was, and say, hey. You got to give him targets. You got to give him a chance. That's why you went out and drafted Malik Neighbors. And for the record, the Giants isn't still kind of aren't exactly in that spot where they have the best of targets. Like Malik Neighbors is great, but the Giants are second in the league in drops. It's miserable. It's been miserable. Tyrone Tracy's played great, but it looks like he'll pass concussion protocol and play this weekend. But at the end of the day, for the Giants, I mean, there's two games where, in my opinion, you had chances of winning, and Brian Dable coached him out of the game, which I've never been critical of Dable. But against Cincinnati and the following week as well, the neglect to run the football is just insane to me. And then you turn around last week against Pittsburgh, you have a chance, and Daniel Jones makes bad decisions. Listen, this is the part that stinks about it for the New York Giants because we have the answer clear cut. Daniel Jones isn't playing bad, in my opinion. His execution is poor in big spots. And the thing is that he just doesn't score touchdowns. Like, genuinely look at the yards. Daniel Jones is in the upper half of the league this year in passing yards.
yeah, and
He has
on the road too. I just want to say on the road he's been really impressive too. I mean, that's not an easy environment to go to in Pittsburgh, and overall he played very well against one of the better
right,
defenses in the league.
but it's not resulting in touchdowns. And you have to come to the answers of why is it resulting in touchdowns? Is because the team doesn't have playmakers, or is it because Daniel Jones can't execute? And in my opinion, especially late in that game where you had two checkdowns and people are critical, he didn't go to Theo Johnson. I understand why he went underneath the Devin Singletary, but at the end of the day, you have to make those passes. You have to make those throws. And I'm not saying Daniel Jones isn't capable of that. It also didn't help that he had pressure in his face, really, for the first time all season since Minnesota to open up the season, in his face left and right. So overall, I'm not devastated with Daniel Jones. I really still think Daniel Jones can be solid, but what I really want the Giants to do, and if you want to think about budget moves, because let's be honest, the Giants are going to be forced into a decision this offseason. They're going to probably cut Daniel Jones. They're going to draft a quarterback. But if I'm the Giants, think about this for a second. Why don't you lay back, trade away Drew Lock, go trade for Tyrod Taylor? He has 2 years on his contract, cheap deal. Let Tyrod come in, quarterback this team for at least this season if you bench Daniel Jones, and let him start next season. Because if you draft a quarterback, rather if it's Cam Ward, I hope it's not Shedeur Sanders, by the way. I'm not to the Shedeur Sanders side. I love everything about Coach Prime. I don't think he's that good. But when it's all said and done, give your quarterback time, allow him to develop, allow him to come and be successful. Tyrod is a guy who can keep you competitive, and I'm tired of the disrespect of people with Tyrod because if you look at the success of the last season and how the Giants put themselves in position, yeah, Tommy DeVito won a couple games, but Tyrod Taylor made some explosive plays for this team, and I would love to have him back under center if we could trade for him because it's not a big contract. You have multiple year deals. It's cheap. It's perfect for the New York Giants and what you would need if you cut Daniel Jones.
Next week on the show, we're going to hand out some mid-season awards for the NFL, but I do want to finish with this. I went to SoFi Stadium for Rams-Vikings last week. It was a fun game with all of the receivers in the game. I did not expect Demarcus Robinson to be the one that made the biggest difference, by the way. But I want to just say this that still just puzzles me, and now I finally got to see it in person. Football is the most popular sport in America by far. Los Angeles is the second most populous city in America. I do not understand how football struggles so mightily in LA. The Rams and the Chargers play at the nicest stadium that I have ever been to in SoFi Stadium. That place is awesome with the video board, all of the elements of the game. We were high up, but we had a great view of the field. There's not a bad seat in that place. It's in an excellent area in California. And that being said, the Rams continuously, and everybody just talks about the Chargers, but it's the Rams too. They see their building taken over by opposing fans. The amount of skull chants the entire game from Vikings fans was outrageous. And the Rams do have a decent fan base, but it just puzzles me how everything is so big in Hollywood. Other sports are so big in Hollywood, baseball, basketball, even hockey, but that the NFL continues to struggle to a point that Los Angeles lost multiple teams before, and now they have the best football stadium, I'd say, in the country, and their teams still cannot get consistent fans, and they let opposing fans from 2,000 miles away take over their building. And it's not like the Rams have been a bad team. They won a Super Bowl 3 years ago. They still have most of that roster intact. They have two of the best wide receivers in football. They have one of the best quarterbacks in football, and people just don't seem to really give them the time of day, despite the fact that they are that good and playing the second biggest market in the country. I just wanted to say that.
Well, think about this. Well, think about your fandom. There's another team in another sport that plays in New York that just happens to be the second best team and kind of has the same issue. The Brooklyn Nets. Think about it. It's the market needs time to develop, and while I understand it's the primary,
but that's different. That's different because the Nets moved out of their place. They moved from Jersey to Brooklyn, and the Jersey fans don't feel like getting to Brooklyn. It's so difficult to get to Nets games. I feel like that's a tough comparison. The Nets are just
but the Ravens moved out of their state. I mean, think about it. They moved from St. Louis to California, and it just you need time to develop fandom. They will never take priority over the Lakers. They will never. It's just the fact that the Yankees pack the house every week because it's a tourist destination. People go to Madison Square Garden because it's a tourist destination. It's packed house no matter if the Knicks were 0-82. When you look at it for the West Coast, like I said, Lakers are a tourist destination. I don't really think people go to LA Kings games as much. I don't know much about the hockey side, right? But when I look at other sports, I mean, the Lakers is what stands out there. And of course, baseball, Dodgers baseball. I mean, it's a tourist destination. They need to make that stadium a reason to come to. And I'm not talking about from success, just from a tourist standpoint. You mentioned they have the best stadium in America, and I agree with you for the record on that. But very clearly, they're not hitting the target market, the market target audience in their area. And rather, if it's making ticket prices cheaper or whatever, because let's not imagine, California is very expensive, more expensive than New York. If they can get the target audience they need to come to that stadium, they will build and thrive, but they need time. And I still don't feel, even though they've been around for a little bit now, they just haven't hit that yet. And once they do, it'll be great, but they need a dominant team is the reason why. And you say the Rams haven't played bad, and they haven't. But if the Rams won 2 or 3 Super Bowls in a row, I guarantee you that house will be packed every single week. Every single week. It's just the fact of the matter. It's a tough situation because winning is such a tradition, just as much as it is in New York over there, where they're expecting greatness. And in football, when there's a cap, guess what? You can't buy yourself into greatness every season like the Dodgers can. In basketball, cap still doesn't really kind of matter. And you have LeBron James. Just, the greatest basketball player in history in your spot. You're going to go there. Matthew Stafford isn't the greatest quarterback in NFL history. He's a great quarterback, but he's not LeBron James, right? Yeah. So you have to give them a buying point. That's all. Cooper Kupp isn't a buying point. Puka Nacua isn't a buying point. If it was Aaron Rodgers, I don't know, maybe. If it was Patrick Mahomes, I'm sure people will show. But that's the thing. The Rams just don't have selling points at the moment, but they're a good football team.
I thought that a Super Bowl would end up being the selling point, but it clearly hasn't been. But we'll leave it at that. Next episode, as I said, we're going to hand out some NFL midseason hardware. Also, be talking some NBA because they are into the season. So you're going to want to stay tuned
Oh,
for that.
can I ask one more thing? What is, because I don't really have politics on the show, but what is it with all these NFL players showing up to these different rallies? I'm seeing this left and right, and they're getting notoriety. There was AJ Dillon the other day. I think he was at a Trump rally. Like, what is going on? I am so confused right now. Where I just keep on getting these. It's not even ads. I just keep getting these videos. All different NFL players. It's like, guys, it's in season. What are you doing? Aren't you supposed to be a practice doing whatever? It seems you're showing up to rallies. Like, what is going on?
One person who isn't is Aaron Rodgers. He's just busy drinking his cayenne pepper water because apparently that's going to save the day for him against the Texans tonight.
I just have to get that out before election day because I don't know when we're going to film our next episode. But it's like, what is going on right now?
I don't know. I have no idea. Antonio Brown even was him and Le'Veon Bell are off on the campaign trail in Pittsburgh for DJT. But that's that. Next week, midseason awards, NBA. Stay tuned for that. But until next time, I'm Eddie Kalegi.
And I'm Tim Moore.
Signing off of Sports Speak Live, episode 190. We're approaching episode 200 soon. We'll get there eventually. Thanks for joining us. Have a good weekend. We'll talk to you next time.